Hello everybody, welcome to Oschersleben. Thank you for your patience. It's a delayed start to the season, a delayed start to free practice one. The reason being, right at the end of the GT Masters Trophy practice session, a Porsche met a barrier and the barrier won. Or lost rather, because they've had to spend about an hour pulling the barrier back together, replacing the tyres. The driver was fine, but not safe to carry on with the session. So that's the reason we've had this big delay. We actually had to change the timetable this morning as well. So, and latest news coming through, it's going to be another 10 minutes. There it is on your screen. So we were hoping to get underway at 1:05 local time. It's now going to be at 1:15. So just about 15 or just under 15 minutes away. But, you know, you've waited 6 months, so what's another couple of hours to wait for this 40th anniversary season to get underway? Yeah, 40 years since the DTM began in Zolder in Belgium back in the March of that year. Harold Groves became the first ever DTM race winner in a day which was one to remember for BMW because they took 4 wins. There's Jack Aitken's on the telly. Hello, Jack. So he's all smiles. The drivers, of course, been waiting around as well for this session to start. But it is imminent, and we are going to get lots of track activity because a few things to say about in terms of changes for this year. One of them is you get a longer free practice one session. So across the course of today, we should be getting a combined 100 minutes of DTM practice sessions. So we're here in Oschersleben for the first of 8 weekends of DTM. My name's Chris Hartley. And back alongside me in the commentary box here at the circuit is Brian Oliver. I think it's good afternoon. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever we are.
Do you know what? I've lost track of time. Hello, Chris. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, we were expecting free practice some time ago, but as you've already said, it will be worth the wait. The 40th year of DTM, and it is looking like a cracker, isn't it? And to start here at Oschersleben, a circuit that, well, many people haven't heard of Oschersleben, and we were saying only yesterday, this is one of our favourites on the calendar, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a really good track. Bit of a hidden gem, this one. It's 3.6 kilometres long, just over. That's around about 2.3 miles if you like your mileage in old money like me. It is a clockwise circuit. It's got 14 turns. I think probably the best way to describe Oschersleben is a couple of very quick straights, mostly mid-speed corners. It's got a couple of chicanes in there, a lot of fourth gear corners around here, but when they unleash the power of the GT3 cars down the back straight, they will still get over 230 kilometres an hour. It's not the longest of straights. They can get up to 260 kilometres an hour on some of the other tracks that we visit later in the year. Come the weekend, if last year is anything to go by, and last year was the first time the DTM had been here for a very long time, 8 years or so, and the crowd was magnificent last year. The weather is very spring-like at the moment. So yesterday we arrived, we got out of the car, it was sunny, and between walking from the car to the media centre, we had wind, we had the rain coming down, and it was pretty cold yesterday. But the weekend gets better as it goes on weather-wise, and by Sunday, I think it should be around about 22 degrees and pretty sunny. There's still the chance of the odd shower today and tomorrow, mainly because it's so windy, but if the rain does come, it'll go pretty quickly as well, I think. The first free practice session is going to run for 55 minutes. That's one of the changes. There aren't many changes to the rules this year, but that is one of the changes. 55 minutes, so a longer first free practice session than previously. Last year we had 2 45-minute sessions. Now we've got a 55-minute free practice one and a 45-minute long free practice two. And part of the reason behind that change, Brian, is because they've tightened up the rules in terms of testing away from race weekends once the season starts.
Yes, it's been a topic of conversation all the way through the winter, and it's all about reducing the costs. Obviously, finance is tight for everybody at the moment, and it's very important. Great that the ADAC are looking at the bigger picture and helping teams to save on expenses. And of course, those practice days that you have are very expensive, not just in getting the crews there, but extra tyres and wear and tear. Having a look on board here.
Yes, this is why we've had the delay. Hold tight, everybody. It's about to go very wrong on the exit to turn 1.
That's Johannes Catfinger, I do believe, who's in GT Masters. Oh, he's gonna be stiff in the morning, that one, isn't it? So
yeah, we saw him getting out of the car, so he's I'm sure he'll be taken to the medical centre for some checks. But the great news was he got out of the car on his own volition. You see there from the onboard, first thing racing drivers are told to do when you're heading for the barrier, take your hands off the steering wheel, because the steering wheel just whips around, doesn't it, as soon as the front suspension hits the barriers, and you can easily break a finger. So in your head, you want to hang on to the steering wheel. You've got to let go of it and trust the 6-point safety harness to keep you in place, which it will.
It certainly shortened that Porsche a little bit. We saw them dragging the remnants of it out of the tyre barrier, and the front was, well, certainly a lot shorter than it was at the start of the morning. We were partway, just as we were saying that, we're just talking about the testing situation and the reduction of testing, certainly on the Thursday, to save finances, hence the extended FP1. But isn't it great that the ADAC are looking at the bigger picture? And I feel like this is kind of a half step, because the whole of the testing has been thought about and revised, hasn't it? So reductions and restrictions for all the teams and drivers.
That's right. So last year at some events, including this one, there was a Thursday test. Not that that went particularly well for, it was Lucas Stoltz last year, wasn't it, who had a big off and had to go and get a spare car and rebuild it overnight. But that's now gone. Thursday of a weekend, there is no on-track activity for the DTM cars, that is. And each driver is now restricted to 5 days of testing once the season starts, and at a maximum of 5 different tracks. And they can only use 3 sets of tyres per test day. So it's all to try and restrict costs. So because they've got restricted testing to sort of give something back, they've then extended their free practice session. That's why it's gone to 55 minutes from a 45-minute session. That's one of the bigger changes to the format this year. In terms of qualifying, there's a slight change as well. Not in terms of the format of qualifying itself, still 2 20-minute sessions, 1 to set the grid for each race, 1 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. But this year, drivers who qualify in the top 10 have to use the same set of tyres that they qualify on for the start of the next race. So that was previously just the top 5 that had to do that. That's been extended to the top 10 now, so perhaps a little bit of more strategy coming into play. And a major change in terms of the race format when we get to it. Any tyre changes during a full course yellow or a safety car period don't any longer count as your mandatory pit stop. Everybody has to do a mandatory pit stop in each race. Previously, it counted as you stop, but obviously there's an element of luck comes into that. If you've just pitted and then come out and then a safety car happens and everybody else pits, they give a big advantage, of course. So that's changed.
So I'm just looking at that board. We haven't even started yet.
Destroying the track.
We're already taking out the advertising. Yes, just says it all, really, doesn't it? Oschersleben. You were talking about testing and the restrictions. There was actually a test here last week, and Thierry Vermeulen for Emil Frey Racing came out on top there. Now, maybe that's a sign of things to come, but it is a quality grid of drivers that line up in DTM this year. We were talking about this yesterday, and pretty well, most, if not all of the drivers in the field are more than capable of winning and indeed challenging for the title this year.
Indeed so, and if you are playing top trumps, if you're familiar with that game, and you could pick your racing driver lineup for a team, and you had 3 cars available, and you were Schubert Motorsport, you've come out on top, haven't you?
Yeah.
Because they have got 3 champions in their team. It's a fascinating lineup list. So 2 of them were with Schubert last year. Rennie Rast in his first season as a BMW driver last year, after being, of course, many, many years with Audi. He's a 3-time champion. He's back with Schubert in the BMW after a strong end to the season last year, including his first win as a BMW driver. And Sheldon van der Linde, champion of 2 years ago, is back as well. So that's the same pairing, but coming into the team now, of course, a long-term factory driver for BMW, but now with the Schubert Motorsport team, after, unfortunately, Project One team that he was racing with last year now ceased to exist. Marco Wittmann, 2014 and 2016 champion, joins them. So that is not a bad driver lineup. 6 championship titles between them. They're going to be strong. And we can't tell too much from pre-season tests because you never know what everybody's doing. or they're holding back, what they're doing with terms of testing things out and tyres and so forth. But they were the three quickest cars in the test at the start of the month at Hockenheim, weren't they?
Yes, and with 3 cars in the team, and the only team with 3 cars, of course, a lot of data that they're able to share amongst each other. And as you said already, 3 former champions of their 3 drivers. There are 4 former champions on the grid, and 3 of them in one team. You have to say, if you were heading down the bookies this morning for a pre-season flutter, one of the Schubert Motorsport drivers would probably be who you'd put your 50p on.
There were 12 different race winners last year, 10 different drivers on pole. Brian and I found a very nice Italian in Magdeburg last night. And,
Italian restaurant.
Italian restaurant. True. I should have clarified that. An Italian restaurant where we ate last night. And the inevitable question came, right, Brian said, who do you think is going to win this year then? So we started by listing all the people we thought could win a race. And I think we can easily get up to at least 10 different race winners this year, can't we?
Yeah.
Those 3 we've mentioned. There's a young chap called Thomas Priding who's back as well, last year's champion.
I've never heard of him.
EMA team, first ever Austrian to win the championship. He's on a hat-trick this weekend as well because he won, I mean, he dominated the season finale at Hockenheim, 2 poles and 2 race wins, maximum point score there to secure his first championship title. So he's back with Manthey EMA, not with number 1, but with number 91 still on the car. Interesting mindset from Thomas in some of the interviews that he's given. He said he's been asked, do you feel like the hunted now that you are the champion? Oh, another delay, another 5 minutes. 20, just keeping us hanging on.
Bring on the Potts
tension
wheel
up here, aren't we? We'll be going dark soon. And he didn't want to use the number 1 because in his mindset, I was the champion between, you know, winning the final race of the season at Hockenheim, winning the championship, and the end of the year. Once we get to 2024, I'm just the same as everybody else. We're all level again. And I don't consider myself the champion at the moment. I consider myself last year's champion. So he's kept the number 91. But one thing he did say, which I thought was really interesting, was that an enormous weight had been lifted off him. In terms of the pressure that he puts on himself, the pressure, his whole career that he's put on himself to get to this point. Well, he's achieved it now. And I've had conversations with champions in other categories about this. Sort of sense of ease comes with winning that championship. It's not pressure to, you know, perform again. You're the driver to beat. You've got to do it again. Everybody's expecting you to go well. Your mindset is, well, I've shown you I can do it. I've shown myself that I can do it. And it becomes a lot more relaxed, and that's a dangerous thing for everybody else. Relaxed Thomas Priding, watch out, everybody.
Watch out, indeed. Yes, it's interesting. A racing driver, oh, Jack Aitken's getting back out of the car. A racing driver, it's, yes, hello. Jack, great, isn't it great to have him back on the grid this year? Yeah, a racing driver, it's, yes, going fast, learning, you know, to go quick and extract the most out of the car, learning how to get a good setup out of it. But the psychological thing is so important. And we've seen it over the years in so many different classes. Great drivers, as we see 20 past local now, is slowly creeping away, isn't it?
It doesn't say which day.
No, yeah, indeed. We see so many drivers who become their own worst enemies. They've got the machinery, but the mental thing is what defeats them. And Thomas Priding, I thought when I read that he's not going for number 1. And I mean, it's a very humble approach, but he's also setting himself up. He's kind of resetting everything, and he's saying, look, you know, I'm not kind of waving it in everybody's faces. I'm just like everybody else. Yeah. It's a level playing field. And I thought that was very significant, actually.
So Thomas is back, and also back, Mirko Bortolotti. Fantastic news. The runner-up in last year's championship, back for another. He's come close 2 years running now. Took it down to the final weekend of the season. And Ricardo Feller, who had his second season in DTM, his best season so far, 3rd in the championship last year, also took it down to the final weekend of the year. They're back as well. Sheldon van der Linde, champion of 2022, 4th in last year's championship. He's back. René Rast, worst ever season for René Rast last year in DTM, only 5th. 3 times a champion in 2017, 2019 and 2020. They're back. They were 4th and 5th in the championship. And Lukas Stolz, who is the stealth bomber of racing drivers because he completely goes under the radar all the time, but he's always there in terms of the results. And a 2nd consecutive year finishing 6th in the championship. Never rule him out either. So the top 6 from last year's championship are all back. Kelvin van der Linde, who came close to the title a couple of years ago in his first season. He's back as well. Lucas Auer, Maro Engel. So all the big guns are back, and many more of them capable of winning races. We've already mentioned Jack Aitken a couple of times. He's looking very relaxed. Great to have him back as well. He was one of our 12 different race winners last year. Emile Frey Racing, who brought the 296 Ferrari into the DTM for the first time last year. Experienced team, but they were new to DTM, new to Ferrari. They certainly showed what they could do a few times last year. In fact, Jack got on the podium in his first weekend of DTM last year, qualified on the front row of the grid here as well. And his teammate is, for my money, the driver that was the most improved driver of last year, Thierry Vermeulen, the young Dutch driver who started the season well and got better and better as the year went on. So I'm sure he is going to be a factor as well.
Ricardo Feller is not in his driving seat, I can confirm, from the camera there. We did also just catch a glimpse of Lucas Auer, now driving the Yellow Mamba. I will spend the first half of the season calling him Maro Engel, but of course Maro Engel has changed livery, changed number as well, and the number 22 car is now the Yellow Mamba Team Man filter, the iconic livery. But Maro Engel in car 130, symbolic and historic number.
Yeah, the 130th anniversary for Mercedes, and yeah, Maro very proud to carry that number and his new livery this season. So Maro back again as well. Another race winner he was last year, and a bit of bad luck, didn't he, in the second half of the season. He probably should have finished higher up in the championship than he ultimately did in 10th place, but he, we know, well capable, hugely experienced GT driver. He'll be no doubt looking forward to the fourth weekend of the season at the Norris Ring, the streets of the Norris Ring, because he is a street circuit specialist, having been a multiple GT World Cup winner at Macau. The Macau Grand Prix weekend unfortunately didn't go so well for him at the end of the last season, and in November at Macau recorded a DNF, but he's won there multiple times. He's always quick around the streets, and Maro, I think, will be another one that, strange to say, he might be a dark horse for the season because of all the qualifications he's got to be a championship contender, but he's just another one on the long list of potential champions this year, isn't he?
He is, and as you've already mentioned, it is a long list. We are about, well, in theory, 2¼ minutes away from this session getting going. The fact that Thomas Preining is now sat in the seat is encouraging. We can't actually see the section of the track from here that they're working on. That's out in turn one. We can now. Still looks like they're putting tyre barriers in place. That's been a big job. I mean, it was over an hour ago that Kapfinger met the fence, and they've been working hard on it ever since. And
well, they go into that corner at, well, before they hit the brakes, 240 kilometres an hour, so didn't seem to knock a great deal of speed off before he hit the barrier either, did he? So
it's one of the more controversial corners of the season, the turn one, and we were remarking earlier, they've reprofiled turn one. You think it's bad now. You should have seen it a few years ago. It used to be a sharp left and then a very sharp right-hand turn before going into the sweeping hotel turn, which is turn two, which in itself is also a fairly unique corner. A lot of drivers struggle to master it, and I would wager that we will see more than one car in the gravel trap on the outside of turn two at some point during this weekend.
Don't say that, Brian. Wait for the session to get underway.
We don't want anybody else to go off the road.
There's Jack Aitken then getting in the car. Second season of DTM for Jack, former Grand Prix racer. Track is clear. Well done, everybody, for getting that done. They've been working hard, haven't they, for an hour and a half or so to get that fixed. So well done to the track staff, the circuit staff, for getting that done. Not the work of a moment to replace those barrier sections. So that is now clear. Confirmed we are going to get the session underway in just over 30 seconds time. And Jack Aitken amongst the drivers in the cars, ready to go. Busy season for Jack because he's also full-time racing in the IMSA Sports Car Championship. Had a pretty good start to the season in that as well. Had 3 weekends. He's had 2 podiums, 2 second-place finishes, although he was a little bit gutted, having been a 24-hour winner before, to just miss out by a few seconds on the Daytona 24-hour race at the start of this year. Second place, though, still a good start, running third in the IMSA Championship, so he's hot shoeing from Europe to America across the course of the full season, but he always wanted to come back and have another go at DTM as long as the schedules permitted. Here we go then, the green flag. 6 months and a few hours after we saw the checkered flag at the end of a dramatic weekend at Hockenheim in late October. The sun is out, we are back underway. The 40th anniversary of the DTM gets underway with, as we've been saying, a quality lineup. We've talked about lots of the familiar faces coming back into the DTM. There are some new faces as well. There's also a new additional brand that's going to be doing for the first time ever a full season in the DTM. We had a McLaren driven by Christian Clean in the championship before, but now we've got two McLaren 720Ss. There they come out, the orange and black livery, and they're going to be doing the full season with DTM Motorsport, who also come into the DTM. So Clement Schmidt, he's one of their drivers. He's moved across from the Grasser racing team. The Austrian driver will be using all of his experience to try and develop that car as it goes along. And in with him is our youngest driver in the field now, just 19 years of age. Ben Durr comes into the championship, and a daunting task awaits because we've talked about the driver lineup. It is a red-hot lineup of GT3 drivers, all with huge experience and success. But he's got to try and get up to speed, and with a new car, new team, it's great to see them here. It is quite seriously restricted, that car, because obviously you use balance of performance to equalise all these different types of cars and get them as close to power performance as you can by either restricting the turbo or the air intake if they're naturally aspirated, and other things that you can get an even playing field. But they seriously have to harness the power of that McLaren, because whereas all the cars in this championship work to about 550 brake horsepower, that has over 700 brake horsepower if you don't restrict it.
Yes. Ben Durr, I believe he's the only driver who has no previous DTM experience. So, as you say, a steep learning curve for those who follow ADAC GT4 Germany. Of course, Durr Motorsport will be a very familiar name. Rainer Durr's team and his son, one of two racing sons, Ben Durr. He was in GT4 last year for part of the season last year, so stepping up to DTM, it is a big step and a lot of learning to do. And I think the team, the Durr Motorsport team themselves have said, yes, we might be propping up the back of the grid to start off with, but we got big aspirations and we're going to be pushing forwards.
And you've seen one of the amped Sportsline Audis heading out. And great to see the Red Bull livery back on Audi. That was announced at the end of last season, the partnership. They were the first team to announce their return to the championship, the first team to announce their driver pairing, the same as last year. Kelvin van der Linde from South Africa, Ricardo Vella, the Swiss driver. And having had many years previously in a great successful partnership with Red Bull and the Red Bull livery, that is back. And it's also a big anniversary year for that team. The most successful current team on the grid, AB Sportsline, are celebrating their 25th year of DTM this year. Yeah, they're taking it very, very seriously. Of course, as you've mentioned, with the Red Bull sponsorship, and Hans-Jürgen Abt and Martin Tomczyk have recently restructured the team. They said we need to bring the DTM trophy back to Kempton after 14 years. They've created what they are calling a flatter hierarchy and divided areas of responsibility. So they no longer have a team leader. So really thinking hard about how the team is structured as they look to regain that title. They are properly serious about it this year. Well, they have a chance of a good weekend here, although neither driver got on the podium last year. There was a 4th place for Ricardo Vella. There was a 6th place in one of the races here for Kelvin van der Linde. Audis have had 5 race victories around this circuit over the years. There have been 18 races at this track. The first DTM race at Oschersleben was in 2000. We've had 18 races. 5 of them have been won by Audis, 5 by Mercedes, and 4 by BMWs. But last year, you would say it was Porsche that dominated. They didn't win both races. Franck Pereira got the first ever Lamborghini DTM victory here. The French driver is not back on the grid this year. But the majority of the podium places, including a race win for Christian Engelhardt, went the way of Porsche drivers, and Thomas Preining will feel that this place owes him one, because he was on course from pole position for a race win in race 2 last year until the team made an error in terms of the pit stop regulations. He had to serve a run through the penalty box. That dropped him down to 3rd place in the end.
Yes, and he was not well chuffed about that. You mentioned Christian Engelhardt. Of course, he won the race last year, as have you already said. But, of course, this year, he's in the Lamborghini Huracan rehearsal as they run through the penalty box. And if you are new to this type of racing, the penalty box is a great innovation. I think one of the really good moves in what started, they brought it in last year. A section of the track 200 meters long, and if a driver picks up a penalty during the race that is not worthy of a drive-through penalty, they may be requested to visit the penalty box maybe once, maybe twice or more, and they have to pass through that box at no more than 50 kilometers an hour. It effectively adds about 5 seconds onto their lap time, and a really great innovation.
Yeah, because previous to that rule coming in, Thomas Priding might have received a drive-through penalty, and he'd have been a lot worse off than dropping from first to third if that had happened. It would cost him a huge amount of time. So Lamborghini on track, and another sort of new driver to the championship. Nicky Tim comes for a hopefully full first season of DTM. They came into the championship in 2022. It's been a dream of his to race in DTM. He grew up around the DTM. Kurt Tim, DTM star, was his father, is his father. So he's grown up. He's always wanted to race in DTM. He joined the grid at the start of the 2022 season at Portimao and Lausitzring with the T3 Motorsport team. The team then went defunct eventually as the season went on, and Nicky only got to compete those 2 weekends. But here he is back, and with the SSR Performance Squad, who took Mirko Bortolotti to second place in the championship last year. The Danish driver with huge amounts of experience, a lot of it as a Porsche driver. He's raced in British GT, he's a former Porsche Super Cup champion. He will be one to watch in DTM, and it can only be a good thing for Mirko Bortolotti to have such a high caliber teammate to try and help him out for the championship. Although I'm sure Nicky Tim will think, well, I want to win the championship. But all round, it's good for SSR Performance to have 2 drivers like that, isn't it?
Yes, and you won't miss Nicky Tim in a crowd. If you haven't seen him, we were in the services heading to the track yesterday morning, and we spotted him in the distance. Bright blonde hair and a black beard, a proper character, and such a welcome addition to the grid.
He's rock and roll, isn't he, Nicky Tim? Like a big Viking, the Danish driver. Yeah, he's sort of I mean, he could easily get a role in Game of Thrones, I reckon. But proper rock and roll, and a very, very adequate driver. You go on board then with Ricardo Fella. And Ricardo, who was ready for a holiday at the end of last year. I was talking to him at Hockenheim. I was like, ready for a break now, because he had a busy year racing in this and also the GT World Challenge last year. I said, where are you going on holiday? He said, wherever my wife decides we're going. She can choose.
How submissive.
Yeah. So there he is, Ricardo. Great effort for third place in the championship last year. Race win at Zandvoort. Perhaps the victory that he took last year, though, wasn't his most memorable performance of last year. No. There were 2 others that stood out. The one at the Lausitzring, do you remember? The Audi of Ricardo Fella, nose to tail for what felt like almost the whole race behind Mirko Bortolotti in searing heat. I mean, it was 35 degrees out of the cockpit. It was 60-odd degrees in the car, and they ran millimetres apart. It was brilliant to watch. It was good, fair racing. Mirko Bortolotti had to dig deep to keep Ricardo Fella behind him. So that was it. He finished second, but that was a great drive. And then the Red Bull Ring. Third place. Doesn't sound anything special, does it? Until you mention the fact that he started 26th on the grid. Phenomenal drive. I think for me, the drive of the season from Ricardo Fella last year, from almost the back of the grid to finish on the podium. And also, just to make it even more interesting, towards the end, he had a brilliant battle with René Rast, didn't he, in the BMW? He had to fend off René for the last 5 or 6 laps. It was brilliant.
And that is why Ricardo Fella is one of the pre-season favourites for the championship. Of course, he knows how to win a championship in this environment. He did it in the GT Masters in 2021, along with Christopher Mies as his co-pilot. He's having a go solo here. He's the first one to turn the wick up. 123.162 is the first time to be recorded this season on the board. Still a second or so above what we will be expecting tomorrow when qualifying comes. In fact, he's down into the 22s now, 122.683. But Ricardo Fella, well, he's spent plenty of time sat in the pits. He's ready to get going. He's rolled his sleeves up and he's turned the wick up, and he's using all of the track and out there putting in the times.
Free practice, they get 2 sets of slicks nominated for each car, but of course they'll use their best tyres, save tyres for qualifying in the race. They get 4 sets of slicks to last for 2 qualifying sessions, 2 races. So 122.683. Now you never expect to go red hot pace in free practice. They always save something, but that is pretty quick for my money this early in the weekend. 122.683. The qualifying lap record here, set by Thomas Preining 12 months ago, or actually 11 months ago, was a 1 minute 21.347. So only 1.3 seconds away from the qualifying pace. The lap record in the race was a 122.6 second lap. More circuit destruction happening here.
Right.
Hold tight. Bang, there goes one of the markers.
Oh, and it was Ricardo, wasn't it? It had to be. We were talking to our producer, an amazing guy who knows how to put cameras around this circuit. And apparently, during this weekend, from tomorrow onwards, they're going to be putting a camera in the middle of those 2 bollards. They didn't want to do it today because and there is the reason why. So hopefully we're going to see some great shots, albeit maybe briefly, tomorrow from the camera in the middle bollard.
Yeah, Barry puts the decides where the cameras go, including these fantastic onboards we get. Said no, I won't put it in until Saturday or Friday night because it will get destroyed. And case in point, there goes the marker. Right, on board with your champion. Oh, spinner ahead. Just avoiding that. You go back on board now with Ricardo Fella. So yeah, that was him having the spin. We just saw it from the onboard of Thomas Preining.
That's van der Linde, isn't it? That's Kelvin van der Linde.
Yes, sorry, Kelvin van der Linde.
Yeah.
Confusing, we had a shot of Ricardo Fella in the car, but yeah, it was Kelvin van der Linde. We just saw it from Thomas Preining's Porsche on board as he went past. So quick moment, but no harm done. But he did pick up a bit of gravel, which is deposited around the circuit now. As is often the case, you find the limits and you go a bit beyond it, because Kelvin had just done his best lap of the session to make it. An apt Sportsline Audi 1-2. He'd just gone second with a 123.030, 3/10 or so behind Ricardo Fella. Thierry Vermeulen is the first of the Ferraris at the moment. We've only had 6 cars with any kind of proper lap time yet, but Thierry third with a 123.686. His teammate Jack Aitken goes fourth with a 123.797. Lucas Stoltz is fifth. Arjun Maini, back for 4th season of the championship, has just done the absolute best first sector so far with the 354. So he's on a lap which should improve. Thomas Preining is still getting up to speed, but with 3 race wins last season, a dominant performance, which saw him wrap up the championship in qualifying rather than in the race on the final day of the season. He's going to be one to watch. This is his 8th year now as a Porsche driver, so it's been a happy partnership, this.
Yes, indeed, and all learning from each other. The teams are swapping notes, and of course data is shared between the cars. I'm just looking, Ricardo Fella's had a track limit infringement at turn 9. I expect that to be there, yes indeed. Of course, we're looking at the times here in free practice. Many of the teams are not gunning for times. A lot of this is about gathering data and working on race setups. A lot of work going on. One of the cars that you saw flashing through your screen just now was a driver who made their headlines last year, the number 71 car of Max Powell. He guested for a couple of rounds last year and won on his debut round, which was very impressive in the rain at Nürburgring. Great to see Powell Motorsport on the grid doing a full season in the DTM, and Max Powell, the driver of that car.
Yeah, Max said pre-season, DTM for me is where the best GT3 drivers in the world are, and I've finally got a chance to show what I can do. I've never really had many chances to do it before, and he said this without any hint of arrogance. I think I'm one of the best GT3 drivers as well, so he's here to mix it.
Yeah.
So yeah, had a fantastic drive from 13th on the grid in the wet at the Nürburgring to take victory for the Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini, their first win as a team. He's back in the Lamborghini Huracan, but with his own squad now, Powell Motorsport, number 71. And it'll be one to watch. Only 6 races in the DTM. He actually made a debut at the Red Bull Ring at the end of the 2021 season in a T3 Motorsport Lamborghini. But he's got plenty of experience, predominantly in GT Masters, in these types of cars. Arjun Maini then, great to have Arjun back. Frustrating first half of the year for him last year. He's a driver that has been on the podium in the DTM previously. things didn't work for him last year. They struggled a little bit with the car, particularly in qualifying, but he did get better, and he did score consistently in the points as the second half of the season went on. Arjun, I think, will be hoping for a much better 2024, though, and he's becoming one of the more experienced drivers out there now. Lots of GT experience before he even came into the DTM, and he is on a hot lap here, the Indian driver, because he set the absolute best first sector. He's already up to second place. He's the first driver to do a sub 30-second first sector. The lap is divided into 3, so that's what we're talking about, sector times. We can see the progress of the lap as it happens. Sector 1 takes you from the start-finish line through turns 1, 2, and from the exit of turn 3 is where sector 1 ends. Sector 2 takes in the infield, turns 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 along the back straight, and then a shorter final section takes in the last 4 turns of the lap, the chicane at turns 11 and 12, out through the final 2 right-hands at 13 and 14. Jack Aitken, quickest at the moment, though, with a 1:22.305, almost pipping him on that lap, and it was a very good one from Arjun Mining. But he stayed second, but he's only 25 thousandths of a second behind Jack Aitken. That is the sort of gap that we're probably going to be talking about a lot this season in qualifying, isn't it, when we get to it?
Yes, I would expect to see a vast majority of the field covered by about a second when qualifying starts tomorrow. Morrow Engel, in the meantime, jumps to the top. I think we're going to be in the 121s before too long, a 122.170. That's very rapid indeed as we look at the McLaren of Ben Durr. He knows the circuit. He's just not familiar with a GT3 racing, but he's doing all right at the moment. I mean, 126.591, just working away, building the speed up. His teammate, Clemens Schmid, a 123.344, but as mentioned already, paid not too much attention to the times because a lot of this is about getting a setup.
To put it into perspective, Ben Durr was still racing in the German Kart Championships in 2021, 3 years ago. So he is younger and more inexperienced than pretty much everybody out there. Just 19 years of age, comes from Lich in Germany. It's just north of Frankfurt, in the middle part of Germany, south of here. Just to give you an idea of where we are, our nearest city is a very pretty city of Magdeburg, which is about 20-30 kilometres away, about half an hour drive away. We're kind of situated right in the middle between Berlin and Hanover, so we're not in the north of Germany quite, but we're in the upper northern part of the middle of Germany. Maro Engel then goes even quicker on that lap, 121.951 seconds.
Wow.
To remind you, qualifying lap record last year, qualifying 121.347. Maro is only just over half a second behind that. It's only free practice. That bodes like pretty well for qualifying and some red-hot pace when we get to the first session tomorrow morning, doesn't it?
It really does, yes. Turning the wick up already. 2 cars that have not set a time yet. Very significantly, Mirko Bortolotti, who has been in the pits for much of this session, has only managed 2 laps so far, and also Marco Wittmann. So both of them yet to make a competitive run at a lap time here. I would expect to see Bortolotti before too long.
Well, it's lunchtime, you see, so...
Yeah, where's my lunch?
Session started late. Got to have our lunch before we go out. I'm sure they will make an impression when they come out. Yeah, 2 very quick drivers to come out. I, for one, am delighted that Marco Wittmann will, for the first time in a number of years, should have a very competitive car this year. Do not rule him out this year. He's dragged some pretty impressive results out of underperforming cars over the last 3 or 4 seasons, and he will be one to watch. He's been in this championship for a decade now, 2014 and 2016 champion. He's also one, like this man, like Lucas Auer, one of the most exciting drivers to watch when we get to a race scenario, because he will go for it. He pulls off some brilliant moves.
I'm looking forward to seeing Marco Wittmann at his home race at Norrisring. He has a very vocal fan club, and all these people turn up with their Marco Wittmann memorabilia there, and it's very loud, and I expect him to be a real challenger, especially at the Norrisring.
Sheldon van der Linde on his best lap of the session, and it puts him 7th at the moment in this first free practice. Best BMW for now, with Maro Engel in the Mercedes quickest, Jack Aitken in the Ferrari 2nd now. So he split Maro Engel and Arjun Mining. He's just gone into the pits. And Lucas Stoltz 4th, so that's 3 out of the top 4 on Mercedes. Then you got Thierry Vermeulen. So if you're not in a Mercedes or a Ferrari, you're not in the top 5 at the moment. We've got Christian Engelhardt, the Lamborghini, a long-time Porsche factory driver, of course. He got special dispensation to be a Lamborghini driver with Grasser Racing Team at the end of last season at Hockenheim. And guess what he did? He banged it on the podium, didn't he? So he's another one, a race winner, of course, last year that will be one to watch. Sheldon van der Linde in 7th, Lucas Auer in 8th, Ricardo Feller and Kelvin van der Linde are both in the pits now, 9th and 10th. And here comes Mirko, our first sight then of the steely blue eyes of last year's championship runner-up, Mirko Bortolotti. Also a busy year for him because, like a lot of these drivers, he's not just racing in the DTM this year, he's got a full programme. Some of them also race at IMSA, the GT World Challenge, and some of them, like Rene Rast and Mirko Bortolotti, also get to race in the World Endurance Championship in hypercars because he's a factory Lamborghini driver, Mirko Bortolotti. So a busy year for Mirko, but he's got unfinished business here, as you said, hasn't he? And he'll be building up to speed. He'll be one to watch this year. There's only one thing he's interested in this year, and it's not 2nd or 3rd in the championship, is it?
No, it isn't. A lot of the drivers who are racing in different categories, and one is Kelvin van der Linde. He's obviously racing his Audi R8 LMS Evo 2 here. He's also racing a Lamborghini Huracan for Abt in the Nürburgring 24-hour race, and he's also racing a Lexus RCF in the World Endurance Championship. So being able to adapt, because those are some very different cars, to go from Audi to Lamborghini to Lexus, it's challenging for the drivers, I should think.
His golf handicap's going to suffer. He's not going to have time for any golf until the end of the year, is he? He's a keen golfer as well, Kelvin. Sheldon van der Linde went 2nd about 30 seconds ago. Lucas Stoltz is in 5th place currently. So Sheldon van der Linde, another one that's involved in hypercar racing. His brother is in the GT category in the World Endurance Championship. Sheldon races with Rene Rast, his teammate in DTM, of course, for BMW in the hypercar. So they're currently, after the first couple of events, running 8th in the championship. And here is Sheldon van der Linde then.
I had the pleasure of seeing them at Imola last week. I was on site for World Endurance, and it was great to see them there on that big stage as well. But of course, having to completely change their focus here. That Schubert BMW running on BBS wheel rims this year. If you remember last year at this event, Rene Rast had a rear wheel shear off during the race. He ended up in the gravel trap. And they've actually changed they've worked quite hard, BMW, and they're now using BBS rims. They believe that will stop any such occurrence happening again.
Yeah, it wasn't meant to come in till next year, but they've sped up the process and got those new rims sorted. Yes, a dramatic exit to the race from Rene Rast when the right rear failed on him, and he went off the road. He was absolutely fine, but of course out of the race. I mentioned he finished 5th in the championship last year. That was with one weekend missing as well, because he was also racing in Formula E last year, so he had to miss one weekend, so he did 7 out of the 8 weekends. Still finished in 8th place. We just watched Nicky Tim on that lap. He absolutely wrestled it through the chicane at turns 8 and 9, the right-left flick, properly flinging it over the curbs there. So he's pushing on there. The number 94 car, the orange wing mirrors, teammate to Mirko Bortolotti. And Marco Wittmann has gone out there now, but he's still getting up to speed. So that means we've had 19 cars out on track so far.
Who are we missing? I'm just trying to work out who we've actually missing.
Who's not turned duties as yet.
Well, at the moment, while you look at that, we're riding on board with Mirko Bortolotti. You can see how challenging turns 1 and turns 2 are as he heads out of turn 2, and then it's that stretch towards Hasseröder, which is turn 3. On the infield there's a bit of a lake, and it's quite picturesque really. In the evenings when we do our track run tonight, we're going to stop by the lake and have a sandwich. Right, well, you've pointed out who the name is that's missing. No one significant then?
No, just Rene Rast.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, just Rene Rast. 26-time race winner, 50 times on the podium, 3 championship titles. Now, he hasn't been out yet, so Rene Rast is the one that we've yet to see. So 2 BMWs
now.
Mirko Bortolotti, stationary.
Yeah.
He had an off.
I couldn't work out if that was the picture frozen or whether he is actually stationary. He's not showing up as stationary on our tracker. Yeah. So I think that might have just been a frozen picture.
It did briefly look like it stopped, didn't it? But
no,
yeah,
there he is. He's moving.
He's going through turn 12 at the moment. So there he is. No dramas, just keeping us on our toes.
We need that.
So yeah, Marco Wittmann getting up to speed. The gap from first to 10th is just 0.8 of a second. The gap from first to 15th is 0.9 of a second. We're in for a great season, everybody. So
Close.
Bortolotti getting up to speed, still getting quicker and quicker. He goes into 8th place now, Bortolotti. In fact, the first 7 in the timing are all in the pits, as you can see from the P denoted on your graphic on the left-hand side, the tower graphic there. So a lot of drivers in the pits at the moment. We've only got Bortolotti, Fella, Tim, Wittmann on track currently. Is Rast on that lap as well? Not yet.
Oh, there is René Rast, yes. Interesting, the Schubert Motorsport BMWs, well, they're currently 2nd, 19th and 20th. You get the feeling that it's more about gathering data than it is about putting in hot lap times. Sheldon van der Linde has proven that the car can get around in 1:22.274 and almost certainly quicker. But René Rast doesn't appear to have any urgency about him, weaving just to get the heat into the tyres and into the brakes. Marco Wittmann, 1:23.681, and there he is, just passing through the bottom of your screen. Engsler in the pits. I don't believe that Luca Engsler's in it this year, is he? Yes, he is.
He is.
Sorry.
Yes.
I beg your pardon.
Second season for Luca Engsler. Right, here's Marco Wittmann then. So Wittmann out on track. René Rast out on track. Wittmann's ahead of him in terms of the number of outlaps he's done. So he's still building up speed. Still, of course, with his long-term sponsorship deal with Scheffler, so still has that traditional green. Oh, that sends him out wide as Arjun Marty was coming out of the pits on the grass. That ruins that lap. Yeah. So that was a big old slide. I think probably Arjun was definitely trying to stay out of the way, but it probably just missighted Marco. He probably just saw him in the corner of his eye, and that put him off the line, I suspect. So no harm done, other than dirty tyres and that lap ruined.
Well, we said that turn 2 was a tricky one, didn't we? And you've got to get it right, and you get it wrong, it does spit you off into the gravel trap. Was he distracted by Arjun Marty? I don't think so. I just think he carried too much speed, missed the braking point of the corner. He rejoins. It'll take him a couple of corners to clean those tyres up, but he did well to keep it out of the gravel trap there, didn't he?
Yeah, it's quite tight, that corner. So they go from 240 kilometres an hour, 4th gear. They go into turn 1, the left-hander, and turn 2, they're down to 2nd gear and already down to 85 kilometres an hour before they wind it up through the hotel curve, the right-hander all the way, almost back on themselves onto a short link straight into another kind of sweeping hairpin, not a super tight hairpin, but another 3rd gear corner at Hassenrode, where there's a big grandstand as well. Then out into the infield section they go. It's all tight and twisty through there. And then you've got triple after that, which is because there's 3 left-handers back-to-back, turns 4, 5 and 6. So mid-speed corners around about 170 kilometres an hour is quick enough. 4th gear through those corners into another kind of hairpin really at turn 7 as they come back on themselves. Then there's that very fast chicane through turns 8 and 9. Come out of that at 185 kilometres an hour into a right-hander, 90-degree right-hander at turn 10 onto the back straight, 3rd gear through there, building up through 4th gear, through 5th gear, up to 230 or so kilometres an hour or more, and then another chicane, but a wider chicane, almost like an S-bend section rather than a chicane through the right at turn 11, the left at turn 12, it's uphill as well down that, along that back straight, still uphill, but less so on the way out of turns 12, into turn 13, 2 right-handers to end the lap. The last one's pretty tight, slow, one of the slower corners as well, isn't it? Turn 14, coming back onto the start-finish straight. It's only 95 kilometres an hour, so you've got to get the exit right there because it's a pretty long start-finish straight, and if you're slow to get on the power, it will kill you down the straight there as you fail to get up to top speed, especially as your rivals.
You stole the words from my mouth. Getting good exit out of turn 14, because along the pit straight in towards turn 1 is the best overtaking opportunity on the circuit. I think it's fair to say the circuit doesn't create a lot of overtaking opportunities, but the best one will be into turn 1, and it's all about getting a good run out of 14 out along that pit straight. But then at turn 1, that really tricky left, and then the sweeping turn 2, the hotel turn. So yeah, it's quite a technical lap, isn't it?
A master at work, René Rast, 2017, 2019 and 2020 champion. multiple Porsche champion as well, Carrera Cup, the Super Cup, Carrera Cup Germany. Many years as an Audi factory driver in endurance and DTM, and last year moving across to BMW. But of course, it didn't take long before he got up to speed in what was the third weekend of the season, but only his second weekend as BMW driver at the Norris Ring. 2 second-place finishes, almost a win, until a young hot shoe by the name of Thomas Priding fired it down the inside into the hairpin and forced his way through. But the win did come towards the end of the season at the Red Bull Ring for Ernie Rast. Pretty emotional first victory as a BMW driver for him at the end of the last season. He went up to 5th place in the championship in the end, and the results got better and better. The last 3 weekends of the season, he had a win, a third, a fourth, and 2 8ths. And so he definitely, having got used to the car and the new team, be looking to hit the ground running this time. He's improving his lap times. Marco Wittmann, his teammate, one of them, is up to 14th, up to 11th now. He's just gone across the start-finish line. So the BMW's second with Van der Linde, 11th with Wittmann, and this is going to be the first proper timed lap for René Rast.
Yeah, by his own admission, last year it took him a while to get used to a very different discipline. Of course, the Audi, the mid-engined, if I can say that, mid-engined R8, and the front-engined BMW. I haven't been drinking, honest. Yeah, it took him a while to get to grips with that during the year. But as you've already mentioned, he did as the season progressed. And I think this year he's really focusing his attention on DTM. He's serious about getting another title in that BMW.
Yeah, it's actually got the smallest engine of all the cars in the DTM. You've got Audi, BMW, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Mercedes, and now McLaren. The BMW's got a 3-litre engine, straight 6. It still belts out over 550 brake horsepower. It's one of the turbocharged cars. The Ferrari's the other one that's only a 3-litre as well. But you've got like the Lamborghini is a 5.2-litre V10. The Audi, same, with around about 585 brake horsepower. The Mercedes, 6.3-litre V8, which sounds fantastic. That's naturally aspirated, as is the Lamborghini. So different types of engine out there, but of course it's all equalised through the balance of performance system. And the McLaren's got a 4-litre V8 bi-turbo engine, and the Porsche a 4.2-litre flat 6. Unmistakable sound of the Porsche. And that's naturally aspirated. Of course, it's not just the air intake for the naturally aspirated cars or the turbo boost for the turbo-powered cars that you can adjust to equalise performance, but also the weight of the cars as well. So, and that changes from circuit to circuit based on the data that they've developed from GT3 cars over the years, the SRO BOP system. Right, Maro Engel on a mission in this number 130 car through the chicane. He turned that into a straight line, didn't he? He's on a really hot lap. He can tell from the body language of the car, but he's coming up to a couple of slow cars. The Lamborghini gets out of the way. I think the Porsche's going to be in his way either, is it? So he'll be absolutely fine. I haven't really seen him yet, but Ingen Guan is in the Porsche, in a Porsche for the second time in DTM, but Timo Bernhard's team are not in DTM this year, still racing very much in the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland. But Dennis Olsen drove this car last year as teammate at Manthey EMA2. The champion, Thomas Priding, now he's got a very quick driver to step in as his teammate for 2024, the Turkish driver. He got his first podium in DTM last year. Be interesting to see how he goes, won't it?
Yes, a driver who has been so impressive in Porsche over the years, and anybody who thinks that Ingen Guan is here to be a wingman for Thomas Priding is very much mistaken. He has aspirations to get on the top step of the podium as much as possible. Hugely talented, and I think the move to Manthey Racing will really help him to really step up his game as well.
Yeah, definitely a sort of building, learning year last year. Had some bad luck as well. He was incredibly unlucky to get taken out of the race at the Nürburgring in the wet, wasn't he? Where
well, that's a big one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a big one. Turn 1 where Christian Engelhardt lost it in very, very wet conditions and just went on the grass and lost control of the car. And Ingen was in the wrong place at the wrong time, so he was out of day 2. But he's shown he's all of his previous racing career. Plenty of speed to be able to compete here. So the Turkish driver is a proper star in Turkey as well. He's always been interviewed on television in Turkey and online as well. And yeah, I hope he has a good season. I think he will with that team, as you say.
Yeah, not here to make up the numbers. Yeah, that accident at Nürburgring. He was talking about it afterwards. He said, I had 10 seconds where I'd forgotten to breathe. And he went, yes, I need to breathe. It winded himself. Yeah, looking to avoid that kind of thing this year. And in that car, he will be challenging somewhere near the front. René Rast still hustling that BMW. You saw him just straight lining the chicane. He's currently in 17th place, a 122.928.
He looks so calm, doesn't he, behind the wheel? You see the onboard camera, yeah. If you can hear the noise and you couldn't see the helmet, you could just sort of see him sitting there. You'd think, oh, guy's just sat in an armchair watching the news or something. He just looks so at ease behind the wheel of the car all the time.
It's a beautiful car, that is. New livery for this year as well. And coming out of that turn 14, once again, working out the best line, getting it right, then out onto the pit straight. That long stretch flat out in towards turn 1. And then the heavy braking. This is the tricky corner. It's the left, and then that sweeping right hand. It's known as the hotel corner, and he's going very deep into the corner as well, just trying to maximize the speed. Lots of practicing during this free practice, finding the best lines through some of these tricky corners. Of course, René Rast has raced here. He raced here last year, and he's raced here in the past, but he had a big gap between when he had last raced and last year, so still getting used to that unusual corner.
You know, 5th place here, and then that DNF, as we said. René Rast gives a few years away to his teammates, particularly to Sheldon van der Linde. But if anybody saw the DTM season preview programme, you would have seen that the 3 Schubert drivers had a pull-up challenge inside the garage to try and do chin-ups or pull-ups in the garage. So he was the fittest. Of course, they're all very fit, much more so than Brian and myself, as you can imagine.
Okay.
But first went Sheldon van der Linde. I think he got 7 or 8. It was a bit debatable whether he actually completed them. Marco Wittmann went next and just about beat him by 1, although again they were of course all complaining that he hadn't done them properly. And then René Rast, 37 years of age, rocks up and beats them handsomely. He does 13 and he's even smiling while he does it.
13, I can't even do 1. Pull up for me, it's pulling me socks up in the morning, but that's about it.
And apparently protests that he doesn't go to the gym all the time. He does. He goes every day. Right, Ayhan Janguan then on track. You're watching him in this bright green Manthey EMA car. Of course, Manthey EMA, the team that took Thomas Preining to the overall Drivers' Championship, Teams Champions, and he's on a pretty decent lap here. More cars on track now as well. We've only got 6 cars, 7 cars in the pit lane, everybody else on the track. So currently 14th, but only 9/10 of a second away from the fastest time. Nicky Tim is right behind him, hot on his heels as well. So those two, nobody's setting green sector times. We'll say green sector times. We've got the timing screen here. If they do green time, it's a personal best. If it goes purple, it's an absolute best. The sectors are fairly evenly matched here. The first sector, Maro Engel quickest, 29.8 seconds. The second sector, the middle portion of the lap, was 28.4. That was Jack Aitken. And Maro Engel in the slightly shorter in terms of time, the shorter section, 23.5 seconds through sector 3. So the driver who's quickest overall was best at the start and the end of the lap. But the Ferrari of Jack Aitken was quickest in the middle sector. He's currently top Ferrari, third, 122.305, and 3.5 of a second away from the fastest time. You see what I mean about Nicky Tim wrestling the car?
He's absolutely monstering it. I mean, he got airborne heading over the chicane, clearly pushing hard, trying to extract as much as he can out of that car. Very entertaining to watch. But Nicky Tim back in DTM this year, and he's got a point to prove. He really wants to be up there challenging for positions. Right, slows down out of 14, and then back on the power again now and out onto the pit straight. So just finding himself a bit of space. So maybe going for another attempt at a hot lap here. Just behind him is Max Powell in the 71 car.
1984 was the first ever DTM race. It's our 40th anniversary season. 1986, Kurt Tim won the championship. It was another 4 years before this man, his son, was born, Nicky Tim. So great heritage, but of course he was still racing when Nicky was growing up. A young a young boy with aspirations of all sorts lay ahead of him, but of course he went down the motorsport route in the end. It was a Rover Vitesse in which Kurt Tim won the championship. 19 race wins in the DTM, a great career for him, but it's been a great career outside of DTM. Nicky Tim has pretty much won everything. Pro Class champion in the LMGTE category, World Endurance Racing, Porsche Super Cup champion 10 years ago now, back in 2013. He's won the Nürburgring 24 hours. Had a sort of patchy year last year, did the ELMS with Aston Martin. He's been a long-term Aston Martin factory driver, but he also did a bit of British GT, a bit of IMSA, but he'll be happy to get a full campaign underway, particularly in DTM. And it's long overdue for the 34-year-old, still with many years success ahead of him, I'm sure. So Nicky Tim wrestling his Lamborghini around on track to 13th place at the moment. No improvement in his lap time. Not that we're just looking, as you say, Brian, at lap times in this session. It's all very well being quick over one lap, and you do need, particularly a circuit like Oschersleben, a good qualifying. It's not the easiest circuit to overtake on, but you need the car to be quick over a period of an hour race as well, not just one lap. So this is where they've got to set up the longer runs during these sessions.
Yes, and you've got to get the tyres to the end. Yes, there is a tyre change during the race, but you've still got to look after them as we look at Ben Durr in the gorgeous-looking Durr Motorsport McLaren. But that looked to me like Nicky Tim was pushing hard on that lap, just seeing what he could do, but he didn't improve on that time of a 1:22.781. But very much just getting back into the groove. Ben Durr getting into the groove for the first time in that car. And he's currently 1:23.064, so about 1.1 seconds slower than the fastest time, but not disgraceful by any stretch.
And there's his teammate coming out of the pits in the other orange and black McLaren, the Motorsport car of Clemens Schmidt. Now, very relieved that Clemens is here at all this weekend, because he was out testing here last week. He didn't feel well, felt some pain, and I was to get team radio from Maro Engel.
Try to avoid that because pickup is an issue.
Copy that, copy that.
Pickup is an issue, referring to the marbles of tyre, the sectors of disused tyre, disused rubber that get laid off the circuit. If you ever do a circuit walk at the end of a day or the end of a weekend, off the racing line to the outskirts of the circuit by the curbs, there are all these little marbles of very sticky rubber, and that's what they're trying to avoid there. So Maro Engel on the team radio. But yeah, going back to Clemens Schmidt, he didn't feel very well, and he went to get himself checked out at the hospital. This is last week, during or just after the test here, and found that he had an issue with his appendix, so he's had to have an operation on his appendix just before this event. And he joked that he was just trying to be like Carlos Sainz, really, Ferrari Formula 1 driver. Had a very similar problem a few weeks ago. Came back after missing a Grand Prix, and then won in Australia.
If Clemens Schmidt wins this weekend, there's going to be a queue of people down the hospital looking to have their appendix removed. It's all the rage at the moment, don't you know? But yeah, it's hurting him. He says there's a bit of pain, but he feels good. He says he was going to make a final decision about racing after free practice today. But I think that was kind of a little bit of just verbals, because Durr Motorsport don't even have a plan B as far as I can gather. It's he's going to be in the car for this weekend.
Yeah,
I can rock around in that if you want. Yeah.
Well, they really need Clemens, because Ben Durr is inexperienced in DTM. They're all inexperienced in DTM as a team, except for Clemens Schmidt. Oh, there you go. That was a bit Marco Wittmann there. Wasn't exactly the same running wide, understeery moment through turn 2.
What did I say about
Maro Engel? Yeah, Maro
Yes.
Engel this time, the Mercedes. So it's one of those corners. It's not a quick corner, really. It looks a bit innocuous, but it's one of those corners that can easily catch you out. And then, of course, you go wide, and then it kills your exit speed. So it affects the next few corners as well.
I don't think there's any other corner like it on the calendar myself. It's a really unusual corner, and let's hear what Maro Engel has to say about that. Not much, I think.
The silence is deafening.
Yeah.
Maybe I had to bleep it all out.
Yes.
First swear box contribution.
I saw that. Make sure the car is okay. And if there's something wrong, you can box this lap. If not, we push one more lap. We try to push one more lap.
That's fine.
Okay, so we didn't hear Maro's transmission.
All okay. Just
Just
come on, think of an excuse, Maro, quick.
Just missed the apex, but
just somebody else's fault. No,
I mean, it's a tough corner.
Easily done. Very
tough
easily
corner.
Done. No,
yeah.
no issue with the car. I think just slightly wrong, but so easy to do, as we've seen. Engineers say if the car's all right, carry on for another push lap. He is, to remind you, quickest in this session.
That's how you do it. You see, he's done it right there. It is, you know, it's a tricky corner. I think in the race, when they're going to be running two abreast through there, that's when it's going to be exciting. And that's when the controversy might kick in, because getting two cars around there side by side, not always easy.
Or three if somebody's coming out of the pit lane exit, which is also at that corner, just to make it even more sketchy, potentially. So Maro Engel, quickest. Sheldon van der Linde and Jack Aitken, second and third, are in the pits at the moment. So we've got a Mercedes, a BMW, a Ferrari, two more Mercedes then. Arjun Maini and Lucas Stoltz with a good start to the weekend. Thierry Vermeulen's Ferrari still up there in 6th place. Then the Lamborghinis of Bortolotti and Engelhardt, 7th and 8th. Lucas Auer in his Mercedes, new team for the season, in 9th place. 10th place is Ricardo Feller. Bortolotti, Engelhardt, Auer and Feller are all in the pits at the moment.
Copy, understood. 9 more laps, 9 laps to go.
So Thomas Priding on a long run, and also saying not quite happy with the balance of the car in the mid-speed corners, which is suboptimal when most of the corners here are mid-speed corners.
Yeah, a bit tricky really, isn't it? Again, you can see how hard he's pushing through the chicane. It's a great onboard shot from Thomas Priding, but the Porsche, we know, historically very quick around here.
Kelvin van der Linde just did 2 personal best sectors. He didn't improve his lap time because his first sector was a bit down, but he's the only one at the moment pushing. In terms of the current lap times, those that are actually out on track, the quickest with a 123.3 last time around was Arjun Maini. Also in the lowish 123s were Kelvin van der Linde, who's just done a personal best first sector, so he's about to improve, I think, on this lap. 123.5 for Maximilian Powell. He's last but one in the order at the moment, but he might be finding a bit of pace shortly. And in the high 123s on that lap were Lucas Stoltz and Maro Engel in there at Mercedes. This is a great shot then, looking over the shoulder of Priding Sky, who's that's not a sight you want to see as a racing driver in a race. And Marco Wittmann bearing down upon you, put the fear of God into everybody, I should think that. So the BMW out there. Right, here's Kelvin van der Linde, the South African. And he got a win last year, which has been his first win for, was it 18 months or so. Out to try and improve things this year, Kelvin, and why not, after finishing third in his first season in the DTM in 2021, a race winner in his first weekend of DTM at Monza as well back then. So Kelvin has had some good sectors over the last couple of laps, but hasn't quite put them all together to improve his lap time. So his last lap was a 123.4. His best lap so far in the session is a 122. Oh, 0.7 of that won't improve either, as he hits wide, goes through the gravel, finds a bit of grass and just about gets away with it. That's turn 3. So that's the first off we've seen there in the Hasselroden corner. That's a second gear corner, so it's pretty hard on the brakes into that. It was only a little short straight between the exit to turn 2 and that turn, but you're still doing about 200 kilometres an hour before you get to the braking zone. Here we go on the replay.
It's quite an unusual
deep into the corner, didn't he?
Yeah, I often see cars running off on Hasserode actually, and he did the important bit, was keep it out of the barrier. A bit of grass track racing, rejoins. It's going to take him a few corners to clean his tyres up, but he just missed his braking point, outbrake himself, take too much speed in. Difficult to say really, but he's come out of it, looks like, without any traumas, but a scary moment.
We always talk about free practice being about setting the car up, you know, for qualifying, and there'll be more qualifying shorter runs probably in the second free practice. This one's a bit more about the longer run pace for the teams, understanding the tyres, understanding the cars. But for a driver, it is also sort of about making mistakes, isn't it? Because you can drive around within yourself and not make any mistakes, but you're also not quick. You've got to find the limits to understand where the limits are and often go beyond them. I always remember in his heyday, which was for most of his Formula 1 career, Michael Schumacher often went off the road or span in a free practice session in Formula 1 he was completely unfazed about it. He was like, well, that's what I should be doing. I should be finding the limits. I know where it is now. I won't make that mistake again in qualifying. And of course, gives everybody else hope. I was going to get it wrong this weekend, and then he sticks it on pole anyway.
Oh, you stole the words from my mouth once again. I was about to quote Michael Schumacher myself. Yes, you've seen him have a few offs, but very rarely was it during the actual race sessions. Practice, as you say, free practice, is all about exploring the limits, seeing how far you can push it without stepping over the line. And when you look at this field with the top 17 separated by 0.977, less than a second, every last millimetre is going to count in qualifying tomorrow morning and Sunday morning. They need to extract everything out of this circuit, and it's finding how far you can push it without actually crossing the line during quali and in the race that is going to be the difference between potentially the front of the pack or the very back.
Yeah, as pre-season Marco Wittmann said, in DTM you feel like you've done a really good job on a lap. You got everything out of the car, you're really happy with the way you drove, you think it's gone well, you've got the timing screen, you're 15th. It's that competitive. On board with Lucas Auer, 140 DTM race starts to his name. Made his debut in the championship back in 2015.
Oh, it's getting worse and worse.
Getting worse.
Yeah, that was Thomas Preining by the sounds of it. We're on board with Lucas Auer.
Copy, understood.
I'm impressed with your voice identification. So you reckon that was Thomas Preining?
Yeah, Thomas Preining, yeah.
He was struggling earlier, wasn't he? So I wonder what the issue is there.
So he's dialing. Interesting thing that Thomas said was he never switch off in DTM. Whether I'm on holiday, having a day off, every day pretty much I phone my race engineer with an idea. Could we try this? What about this? What about this at the next time? Race engineer always answers the call. So commitment from the team as well as the driver. Lucas Auer then, 140 races to his name. One of the most experienced drivers out there. He turns 30 in September, and he started out as in single seaters and the Muka Motorsport team, aspirations of perhaps moving up to Formula 1 as the young drivers often do, but he's turned his hand to become a very adept first Class 1 DTM racer and then GT driver. I remember in the first season that DTM turned to GT3 machinery, he was the one that seemed to adapt much more quickly than some of the other former Class 1 drivers. So Lugi, the Austrian, he might be short in stature, but I've received several high fives from him over the last few years, and he's a strong man. Almost breaks your arm when he gives you a high five. He'll wrestle the car around. He's the sort of driver that keeps you on the edge of your seat in terms of the entertainment value he provides. And let's see how he gets on with his new team, because still with Mercedes, he's been for a long time now, but last year, not quite the championship season he would have hoped for. He started on the back foot because he was injured pre-season, but second in the championship, and a very close second 2 years ago, just behind Sheldon van der Linde.
Yes, he clearly spent the first couple of months recovering from that crash that he had at Daytona. But this year, he's fighting fit. You should ask to see his scar one day. It will put you right off your lunch. But he's there in the yellow Mamba, very fit now, ready to go and ready to win. And dial the car in and go for it. And proving that in 9th place, hustling it across the curbs. Still trying to improve. At the moment, a 122.663. He's about 7/10 off the fastest time of the day. But like Kelvin van der Linde, exploring the limits at the moment.
Yeah, fourth gear, 180 odd kilometres an hour through that chicane at turns 8 and 9. He's just gone down the back straight through 11 and 12, about to come to the end of the lap. Arjun Mainy's the latest driver to run a bit wide. Actually, earlier on that lap when he was coming out of turn 3, Lucas Auer dropped a wheel on the grass as well. And Arjun brings some of the greenery back onto the circuit with him, but should be that the car is okay and fine. A good start to the weekend, though. The Mercedes driver currently in 4th place, just Maro Engel, Sheldon van der Linde and Jack Aitken behind him. All the quick times of the session were set really in the first 15 or 20 minutes, or maybe he has got more damage to the car, or is he just staying out of the way? And I think he looks all right, just staying out of the way, wasn't he?
I think he was just getting off the racing line and keeping out of everybody else's way. Yeah, he was a bit subdued last year, as we look at a replay of him just getting it wrong and into the gravel. So really good to see him up in the top 4 in this free practice session. He, by his own admission, he was very dissatisfied with how things went last year, and really just wants to get back in the groove at the start of this season, and you can see how hard he's pushing. We're into the last minute of free practice. That's the quickest 55 minutes of the year so far, I'd say.
It's gone by in a flash, hasn't it? And lots learnt from the drivers and teams. What they haven't got now is much time to work on that data, because, of course, this session was so late starting with the delay that we had from the previous session's accident and barrier repair work, that they've not got long to get ready for the next session now, which is due to start, unless they've changed the timetable again, at 4:35 local time.
They've changed it. Yes, I'm just looking at our update screen at 5:25. Are there floodlights here in Oschersleben? Because we've got two Porsche qualifying sessions after that.
There you go. So 5:25.
Yes.
So it's for a local time here, wherever you're watching around the world. Local time here is just coming up to 2:15 in the afternoon, and 5:25 the session will get underway. So another change to the timetable for free practice 2. So we'll be on air, all being well, 5 minutes before that at 5:20.
So if you're watching in Europe, make your dinner, put it on a tray, sit in front of the telly and enjoy FP2 with us at 5:25.
So just over 3 hours away. Still not that much time, is it? But it's a shorter session as well, 45 minutes. The checkered flag then has come out, and a little taster of what to expect in terms of how close this year is going to be, because, as Brian said, 9/10 of a second covering the top 17. Only 1.1 seconds covering the entire field. It will change, it will ebb and flow. It'll be a different day tomorrow when we get to qualifying. It'll probably get even closer. Certainly the times will get faster, but really impressed with the pace already in that first free practice session. A 1:21.9 from Maro Engel, only 0.6 of a second away from the qualifying lap record, which was set here last year by Thomas Preining, who went on to win the championship.
Interestingly, very different weather this year. It has clouded over whilst this session has been ongoing, so it is now pretty well overcast, and there's a fairly strong wind blowing as well. Believe it's going to be a lot warmer over the weekend, and quali tomorrow may be very different conditions.
Yeah, it's just a fraction under 14 degrees. It's not really warmed up with the we got here this morning. It was 11 or 12, so it's not really warmed up that much, and it will feel cooler. The fans that are around here and have skipped work for the day to come watch free practice, they'll be getting a bit cool out there with that wind that's blowing, but the track temperature is quite a bit higher than that. It's nearly 16 degrees, so not bad conditions. Right, there are the teams. Of course, they're going to play their part this weekend as well. We saw pit stops are always critical in the DTM in the races, and they can have a big impact either positively or negatively on a race result, as we also saw here, as previously mentioned, for Thomas Preining with the pit stop during the race. Right then, the first record of timing of this 40th anniversary season, and Maro Engel's name is at the top of it. Fastest in free practice 1 as we start the season with that 1:21.9 ahead of Sheldon van der Linde, Jack Aitken. Arjamani was 4th, Lucas Stoltz 5th, Thierry Vermeulen 6th, Mirko Bortolotti 7th, Christian Engelhardt, Lucas Hauer and Ricardo Feller rounded out the top 10. Marco Wittmann went out fairly late, but was 11th in the end. Kelvin van der Linde amongst the drivers that managed to go off the road at one point or another in that first free practice session. So just over 3 hours away from free practice 2, from Brian Oliver and me, Chris Hartley. Thanks for your patience. We shall speak to you again in a few hours' time for free practice 2 here at Oschersleben.